Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve Larziliere, and today's guest is Chris Roth from Arete Wooden and Concrete. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm well, man. Hey, so tell us about Arete Wooden and Concrete.
Yeah. So Arete started out as a furniture company back in like 2015. I was kind of transitioning careers and doing this as a hobby. And then I would say in the last 3 years, we actually have switched over to doing mostly cabinetry. So we're now a cabinet shop, and concrete's in the name because it was something we tried out and have not eliminated from the name yet.
Okay. No more concrete though.
Not really. We do a skim coat concrete that's kind of really fun for furniture, but we just didn't have the manpower to keep lifting up concrete slabs and putting them in kitchens.
Concrete is no joke, isn't it?
It's so heavy, man. It's a really, really cool medium to work with, but
it is a very cool medium if you never plan on moving the thing that you create.
Yeah. That was where our problem was.
But you know what, though? I'm not mad at the name because I feel like it's like wood, concrete. It's like, you know what I mean? I feel like it paints a picture. Cool. So you said you've been around for about 3 years?
In cabinets specifically for about 3 years.
Okay. How'd you get your start in this business industry?
Well, my wife and I lived in Illinois for a little bit, and one year for Christmas gifts, I wanted to give my friends something, and we didn't really have much, but we lived in an old Amish barn house, and they had a bunch of dry wood, and so I made a few pipe holders, and thought that was really fun, and kept kind of going with it. So that's the really short version of how we got going.
That's fascinating. How where part of Illinois did you live in? I live in Chicago.
Okay. So we lived in Carbondale.
Where's that?
The very southern tip. So
Okay.
Yeah, they're like claim to fame is sometimes they're good at basketball.
Okay. Is it near Missouri?
Yeah, actually it was a pretty easy drive for us to get to Missouri. I used to go over there and buy meat from a butcher. So
okay, cool.
About a 45-minute
drive. What brought you out to Oregon?
Oh, my wife and I both grew up out here. We were just doing our master's degree when we were in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah. So
where'd you get your master's in?
Exercise science.
Okay. So now you've lived lumber all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so when we moved back, there just wasn't like a ton open in that industry. And so we kind of jumped around in a few careers and then went full-time in this.
So is it you and your wife in your business now?
No, it's mostly me. She helps out sometimes with she's really good at graphics, and so sometimes she'll help out with our brochures and stuff, but it's me.
Okay. And so talk about those first couple of years, like what did the first year or two look like?
Rough, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first year or two starting was really fun because, I got to build things for customers and didn't really have to worry about whether or not it was supporting my family. And then when I transitioned to being full-time, we had just had our first kid, and so we were relying on the business to feed our family, and I don't have any formal business training, and so trying to figure out how to price products, how to have cash flow, how to understand how to set money aside for taxes. It was a really rough first few years, pretty lean. Ate a lot of Cheerios.
Yeah. Wow. And so I'm looking back at your old stuff. Did you start with like epoxy and then regular tables and then you moved to the cabinets? Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah. So we started with kind of first stuff was more like barnwood rustic. That was really big for a while. And then I did a few epoxy slabs and stuff like that. And then kind of anything around that I don't know, that
vanity
style and aesthetic.
epoxy style,
Hmm.
right? Like some
Yeah.
tables with a little bit of color in it, right?
Yep. 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 And so we did that for a little bit, and then cabinets kind of just came about because people were asking for them, and I never wanted to build boxes for a living because I was like, well, those can't be near as fun as furniture, and but
But the
said
money's
yes
way
to it.
better. But
The
the
money's
money's way,
way better.
way better. Yeah.
Yes,
People
it
are like, oh, I
is.
want to be creative. I'm like, yeah, be creative and poor. But
Yeah.
like, right?
Yep. And
Isn't
now
it
I'm
wild?
creative.
It's pretty wild, right? Like the thing that you most want to do doesn't pay the best.
Right. Right.
But the
And
thing that people want pays the most.
yeah, it's about design, like, what's in the market. Um, there's guys around here that do furniture and are really good at finding their niche, and so they can make a living off of it, like
Yeah,
Blacktail
yeah,
and
yeah.
Sawyer and I mean Bourbon Moth, like you
Sure.
know, but
Yeah.
I just never had that. So cabinets.
Yeah. Cabinets. I mean, look, the thing that I truly love about the wood industry is that there's something for everyone.
Yeah,
However, I think when you start getting into selling something that people need,
yep,
that is true value, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, talk about that moment when you realized that. Do you remember what that was? Remember that moment when you realized, like, oh, I actually can build something useful for somebody.
Yeah. So when I said yes to the first set of cabinets, it was for a client I had built furniture for before.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we built that first set and it took me forever. And I honestly the first time I didn't realize there was cabinet software, so I like penciled it all out and wrote it down
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
overlays. Took forever. And I was like, there's no way people make money. But then word got out that like I had built a set of cabinets. And then people started saying, "Hey, can you build a set of cabinets for us?" And so I said yes to a few more jobs and then finally realized like, man, this changes the look of someone's home. Like completely
Oh,
changes the
sure.
look. And it's what they want, it's what they need, and it's something that's like subtle, but at the same time has a big effect on how their house looks. Way more than a
Yeah,
table.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm looking back at your old stuff and I'm looking at all of the glue up cutting boards. I'm like, oh man,
That was
that's like everybody go and check out Arete. What's your Instagram? Is it
wood and
Arete
concrete.
Wood and Concrete? Everybody go and check out Arete Wood and Concrete on Instagram and just scroll down. Talk. I mean, there's no way that you would have been able to support your family with cutting boards.
I did not think so, but for like 3 months there, that was all I was doing. Like I
October,
made
November,
those.
December.
Well, so yeah, but like it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
crazy though, because like it was like right around Christmas. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
had made cutting boards in the past, and then I made that
yeah.
diagonal one, which is
The
just
Oregon one,
diagonal.
you said?
No, it was diagonal. So like
Oh,
all the wood
diagonal.
planks are just diagonal, and
Yeah,
like
that's
I
right.
made those, and we sold, I don't know, it was like 200 or 300 cutting boards. We made like
For
a
real?
ridiculous. It was
Oh
a
my
ton
God,
of them,
that's
but then
yeah.
it just stopped. I mean, it
But
was
then
like
it
really
stopped.
popular and it stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that COVID time. Um, what about how are you getting your clients now?
Right now I work with contractors. So I
Okay.
actually switched over, let's see here, about 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Okay.
Um, I used to work direct to customer and didn't think
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to work with contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of shut off. And I don't know what happened, but it felt like the spigot of direct to customer work kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And so I started calling contractors to see if they needed a cabinet maker. And
Mm.
apparently, I didn't realize when I did this, but cabinetry is like a dying industry.
For sure,
Um,
it totally is. There's
yeah,
not a
all the
lot
guys,
left. Yep.
nope. And they're all retiring. The guys are in
Mm-hmm.
their late 50s and selling their shops and just shutting off. And so there is
Yeah.
a need for cabinet makers. So I started calling contractors, got in with a few of them, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, I don't know, about 90% of our work now.
It keeps you busy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And
So
like,
cool.
it's kind of cool because they're the ones finding the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You're
we
selling. You're
keep
selling to people who sell to your customers.
exactly. Exactly. And it's usually part of a bigger home remodel. And so cabinets, again, become a need. Like what I did find is that customers, if they don't have a GC, like a contractor working with them, they don't want to rip out their cabinets and they don't want to have to deal with electrical. And so they
Yeah.
usually won't remodel the cabinets on their own. They'll ask for a small vanity or something, but they won't take on the big projects by themselves.
And the people that want something custom, and they're a little bit different than the folks that will just buy a vanity from,
Yeah.
IKEA or Home Depot or whatever, right?
Yep.
It's just like, so you probably tend to work in some really nice homes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Around here, we work in some super nice homes. We work in, the average house too, quite a bit, because there's a lot of small remodels. Corvallis is a little bit of an older town, and so people are having to update their homes. But then there's homes like mid last year, we worked in this barn, and it was massive. It was, I don't know, a couple 100,000 square feet it seemed like, and we had to put in these cabinets that were 20 feet tall, and it was one of the biggest places I've ever been in. It was awesome. So we get to work in homes like that too.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And how much of your stuff is cabinetry versus furniture now these days?
About 98% cabinets. We still do
98%.
furniture. Yeah, we do furniture because I'll say yes to stuff just because it's fun. I like building furniture, but the need for it is a lot less.
And I saw that you got a shop saber CNC.
Yes, I do. Yep.
What prompted if you went all in on cabinet stuff, it made sense for you to upgrade to a CNC?
Yeah. And I may have bought it too early, if I'm honest with myself, but we were trying to cut stuff on a table saw, and we're trying to make money, and
so hard.
It is,
right?
It's difficult. Yeah. And I just didn't understand, I don't have training in cabinets either. So when I said yes to cabinetry, I was like, well, how do I build cabinets? And I had to learn from YouTube and cabinetry software. And so I think I was maybe missing out on some stuff that guys in the industry would have known that make it able to go faster on the table saw.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. So if I wanted to make money in cabinets, I was like, I need something that cuts things fast and effectively. And so we went with the shop saber.
Oh, cool. Did you have to borrow money for that, or did you pay cash?
No, we actually financed that machine.
Finance?
Yeah, so we financed it, and it came with everything we needed. So they sent over the 3-phase VFD for the vacuum. They sent over the air compressor, dust collection unit, and then we had to buy a 3-phase converter for our shop.
Yeah.
So
do you have a separate shop, or you have a home shop?
I have a separate shop right now.
What gave you the confidence to keep taking risk in your business?
I don't know. I guess I don't know any better. My wife is a bit more risk averse, and honestly, my main guy that I have working for me, he's really risk averse. I am more optimistic than I think a lot of people are. I always think it's going to work out, even when it sucks and it feels overwhelming. More often than not, I feel like it's going to work out.
Where did that come from? Were you like that when you were a kid?
I think so. I was like that in high school too. I worked really hard just believing stuff was going to work out, and honestly, I don't know, maybe half the time it did. So I don't know why I kept.
But even when it didn't, it still worked out.
Yeah, it still worked out. If it doesn't work out, it's still, I still learned something from it. So it's something my parents ingrained in me too. I remember when I was younger, when we would play sports, they'd say, if you want to commit to a sport, you commit to it and you don't quit. And so we just didn't quit. We couldn't quit that year, at least. We had to finish the season out and keep going. And it kind of feels like that with this. I'm going to commit to it until someone tells me I can't do it anymore. And since I'm the owner, most people don't say that.
Yeah, or you decided it's not giving you what you need anymore.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why we've had three major transitions in the business now. It's almost like I've had 3 separate businesses because, we were doing woodworking. I tried to transition to concrete almost specifically. I pushed on that pretty hard for a little bit. and now we do cabinets. And so, I've kind of just been following what works.
Dude, kudos to you, man. Like pivoting the business 3 times, like, or, 2 other times. That's like, I mean, you must have, I mean, that tells me a lot about you. It's like, that because there are people that are like, I can't make money. I'm like, well, you're literally doing the same thing that hasn't given you money.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I mean? So so people keep trying to do the same things and getting the same result, and they realize they need to switch. So you switched to concrete, and then you went heavy with concrete. And then what happened with concrete?
It's just a hard sell out here, and then not having enough guys. I have at the time I was doing concrete, I had one full-time guy and one part-time guy, and then myself. And
Was this like concrete pavings type stuff, or was it
no kitchens, like
just kitchens,
countertops?
Just kitchens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did countertops, dining tables. My dining table in my house is actually concrete.
Gotcha. So
and
you're
so
never moving.
no, right? We're just leaving it when we move. But
you're like, hey, you're gonna buy this house, and I'll throw in the dining room table.
Exactly.
I'll throw in this table.
Yeah, so, but it was just too hard. We did a few different installs, and man, it was just like, it was a little scary and a little sketchy for us. And I didn't want my guys to get hurt. I don't want anyone to get hurt doing this stuff. And then because it took us so long, you couldn't make money. And so I was like, well, I guess that didn't work.
And then the cabinet just kind of came in because somebody asked you for it. And then you're like, oh man, how much was that first job? Do you remember?
Oh, geez, way undercharged. I think I charged them maybe like 6,000 for it.
Okay.
And I like hand cut all the drawers and then like put butterflies in the back side of the drawers if there was a crack. And so it was like a really furniture-esque piece, but we had, I don't know, like almost 25 linear feet of cabinetry for like $6,000. So
wow.
And then I've made their wood countertop. Yeah, so we made about 25 linear feet of cabinets, and then also made their wood countertops, and it was all stained alder and everything. So and for 6,000, I feel like they got a pretty good deal.
What's your average kitchen now?
Right now, I would say the average kitchen is anywhere from like 15 to 25.
Cool.
There's and one contractor we got him with does a lot of like water damage remodels.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a huge amount of volume there. And some of it's harder because you have to work with insurance.
Yeah.
Luckily he does most of that work. I don't have to do that.
That's great.
But yeah, so the remodels with insurance aren't usually the biggest ones.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's you and you have another full-time person.
I actually have 3 full-time guys.
Sick, dude.
Yeah, so that's a new thing from this year. In May I hired 2 more full-time guys. Thank you.
Wow. So so it's 4 total.
Mm-hmm. 4 total, and then I have 1 part-time guy that does a lot of furniture and tool maintenance. So
4.5 people in your business.
Yeah, 4.5 people.
What's that like? Knowing that people count on you for their livelihood.
Scary. It's honestly, I got into this, and when I got into business, I didn't want to have employees just because it's hard to manage. You have there's stuff they're relying on you to take care of them, to pay them.
Yeah.
And then, you have to manage their work output. You have to manage the quality control and all that stuff. And so it was scary taking on my first employee. And then this year, basically it got to a spot where I just couldn't work through the night anymore. I work nights and weekends, and I was like, well, something's
and you got a family too, right?
Yeah, I got a wife and 3 kids now, and so it's like I can't be working through the night and not having weekends. I'm never seeing them. So we hired people and said, well, it's either going to work or we're going to have another transition.
Oh, they're going to have another transition.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated with I know you said you didn't want to work all the time, but you knew in order for you to get to where you needed to be, and you just needed more time, right?
Yep.
That like do you remember that process of hiring that first full time? Like, what was the thinking there, and like, how did you mentally justify it?
Yeah. Yeah, so he was part-time for me for a little bit, and then basically the transition to full-time was just that, like, looking ahead, we had so much work that I'm like, we're not going to be able to make our deadlines. And so I
Mm.
asked him if he could work full-time for like, I think it was like 4 months or something. And
Hmm.
then he could, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, what about for like the rest of the year? Can you work full-time the rest of the year? Because then I started selling jobs based on having two people working. And so now, so it started going like that. And then this year we hired two people because I got really excited about the CNC and I oversold big time. Like I put us in some pickles because it cut so fast that I was like, well, yeah, we can get like four
Let's
jobs done in a
go.
month. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot we have to install those and put and paint them, It's not just the cutting. And so I oversold and but now that became like our norm. And so I was like, well, now I got to have two more people.
So you're doing like four or five kitchens a month?
No, right now we're doing about two or three. And then
Okay.
there's
Okay. Okay.
sometimes we'll do one major one. Like we just did that last month.
Okay. Like
So,
one major one that takes like 6 to 8 weeks to
yeah.
get done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating, man. That's so cool. I like, you know what, I really like the and what you just said was like a really cool, it's like a cool hack. And I do the same thing where you're like, hey, look, for a short period of time, can you work a little bit more? And they're like, yeah, I'll test this
Yeah.
out. I'll give you more time. And you're like, and then you know how much money you can give them.
Yep.
And then it's like this test, because then you could just go back to what you were before.
Right. Yeah, yeah. You can just go back to being part-time if it doesn't work. It's an easy
If it doesn't
transition
work,
back.
we can try it. We can try it out. We can,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then with the second one, you're like, so you got this tool, and then the tool was like, all right, I'm gonna go ham and then oversell this
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then
It just,
how did you find those people? How did you find your employees?
twice on Instagram and once on
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist. And then the first full-time guy I had actually was a grad student that was going to church with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, can I make a desk for my wife? It's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And so he came in and he worked on the side, and I liked what he did so much that I was like, hey, do you want a job? Because he was like, he did a phenomenal job on his
Yeah.
wife's desk. And I mean, I think when he came in to build that desk, it was the first time he'd ever used a sander or a drill. Like he was really green.
So a dude from church was like, "Hey, can I use your shop to build a?" And so you used the church relationship. Did you know that they was going to end up in a job, or you just, because he was
No.
a fellow church goer, that you're like,
Yeah.
that's cool,
Yeah.
that's
It was just
cool.
around Christmas time, and I was like, yeah, that's fine, man. We're kind of slow in the shop. Come on in. You just have to, like, when you come in, and this has happened a few times, people from church will come by, and I'm just like, you have to make sure it's not during like peak hours. Like, I can't have you working
Sure.
on your table, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, but it was amazing. And I did not expect a job out of that, or for him to have a job out of that.
And then, do you test people out for a short period of time before you commit to them?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm pretty new at this, and so I've listened to people talk about how to hire. I know I've listened to Dave Ramsey's process of like it's like 3 months of vetting or something. Like it's a lot, and I would meet with people, and I kind of just wanted to know what their character was. What's your character like? Talk to me for a little while. What's your life outside of work like? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, yeah, come on in. We'll give it a try, and it's like a 30-day period. If it works, that's great, and if not, I'll pay you for 30 days.
That's
So.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. And I mean, and at the same time, you're training them. You're learning
Yes.
too about how to manage and how to communicate, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're building processes and thinking about things right before
Uh, not
ish.
yeah. So remember how I said I was optimistic?
Yeah.
That didn't lead me to making processes, and so that's actually been something we've had to do, um, kind of as we go, honestly. And it's been a little bit of rough. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what my main thing is now. I don't work on the floor very much anymore. And
That's
so my
great.
job is like thinking through
Sales.
processes. Yeah.
Yeah, sales
Sales.
and processes and
Yep.
management, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you miss building?
Yeah. That was like, I like working with my hands.
Yeah.
So I still do it
But
though.
that's a
I built.
trade-off. I mean, look, you can clock out at 5 and like be
Mm-hmm.
home with your kids.
Yep. Yep.
Do you ever feel like, "Oh my God, I want to build like a 10, 15 person shop and have a gajillion dollars." Do you ever think like that?
Yes. Every once in a while I do. Um, then I listen to some podcasts with cabinet makers talking about, these guys have like $1.5 million shops, like revenue wise. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't I need to learn scale before. Like I just can't fathom that quite yet. Like I would love to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
there, but I
Yeah.
don't understand how to train someone if we're at like a 25 person shop, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's fascinating? So, I've always in my podcast and in my coaching and in my stuff, I always tell people like, hey, I was like, you could build, multi 6-figure business, you could build a 7-figure business. And the thing that I learned, and I've often felt like if you don't have that brain yet to conceive of what, a million, 2 million, 5 million looks like, it's hard to get there
Yeah,
without having either the frame of reference or the experience. So
right.
otherwise it's like how do you get, what is everybody going to do, and
Right.
um and the interesting thing is you just figure it out. I
Yeah.
think kind of like what you do, like what you did before is like hoping optimistic. It's just like you almost need to just continue to just grow and do, and you start to see like, oh, this is what we can, this is a path.
Yeah.
And I think you just start solving for the problems by hiring the people,
Yeah.
right? And so like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a really fascinating thing because when you say 1.5 million, that's like, it's actually not a lot of money
No, no.
if you think about it, right? Because
Yeah.
you can get there if you charge double.
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's like,
You
you
do the same
charge
work
double.
but charge
Yeah.
double. Like,
Yeah. Right. Exactly. But and it's just, thinking through those things, and it's
yeah,
after we've had 4 people now, and I've been out of the shop for 4 months. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm starting to see things. I'm like, well,
starting to
we
see
probably,
things.
yeah, we need an install team. And if we have like an
Yeah.
install team of 3 guys and a shop team of 3 guys, we can probably
Hmm.
do quite a few more jobs a month because now they're not transitioning spaces. They're a bit
Yeah,
more
yeah.
specialized.
There's a little bit more specialty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's cool, man. Um, hey, so this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. So, is there anything that I can help you with? Any challenges that you need to think through?
Man, I actually thought about this for a long time because I know you asked that question. And
Hmm.
so social media is something
Yeah.
that I have like struggled with. I don't really understand it very well. And it's hard for me to understand whether or not I should attack it or because
Hmm.
most of my clients are contractors now. So how do I use social media to my advantage while still catering to like contractor based work?
Yeah. 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 So, and you have 5,800 followers on Instagram, and the one thing that I do, and you have good photographs on your website. And I'm looking at your Facebook page, and you've got good stuff there. So here's the way that I would approach social media is documenting and networking.
Okay.
That's the point. Like, don't get caught up thinking that you need to do this, this, and this, and this. Like, literally document what you're doing,
Okay.
because like, today I'm hiring. Today we're going to CNC. This is what today we're installing. Just document. Just follow the journey. Don't think about the process in which I just recently came up with this insight. Is that the same skills that you have to build a perfect kitchen that's flush against the wall and has no gaps and looks beautiful is not the same skill as it relates to marketing and social media.
Right.
Social media is messy, and you are allowed to be messy. Not everything is perfect. And
Right.
so what you have to do really is that you have to just document the process. So again, as you're walking into the shop, document it. As you're as you're finished the install, take a picture with your GCs, right? Like, and your contractors. Take a picture of your team. Just like have fun with it, because when you have fun with it, then it's going to be something that you're wanting to do more and more and more. And so one of the things that I'm telling you is that, like, if you are able to have fun with it, you're going to be able to start being more creative.
Yeah.
And so, so that's one thing. The second thing is, I know that you said most of your work comes from contractors, but I'm of the mind that you need to build in contingencies just in case, somebody comes in and the contractor now has a new person because I don't know, like
that happens.
And so that happens.
Yeah.
And for no reason, they just start subbing out jobs to somebody else.
Yep.
And you're like, yo, dude, what happened? I thought we were good. And you actually need to use social media to network with other people. So here's the thing. If you're active on social media, if you're active and people seeing that your stories are up and you are posting, you're documenting your process, and you're being social. That's why they call it social media.
Right.
It's like, and most people are shy, right? Like most people are super shy, but social media can give you the opportunity to actually be a friend to people. You know what I mean? And so for me, I look at, like, we just met today, but like we feel instant rapport. Why? Because you have a cabinet shop and I love working with people. I like working with woodpreneurs. So we have this common bond. So the way you can look at social media is that you can start connecting and networking with people that are just like you. So if you are showing up authentically yourself and you start sending if you send DMs to 5 different contractors a day and you're having conversations with them, what do you think would happen? Because the same thing that got you to where you are today, imagine if you leverage social media in order for you to do that. Your scale goes like so much better. So like I would just start following Eugene, Oregon contractors. Like I'm gonna look to see, like, let's see, Eugene, Oregon construction. I'm just gonna see. I'm just gonna see how many Eugene, or you said you're 45 minutes from Portland?
About an hour south of Portland and 45 north of Eugene.
Okay, so Eugene, Oregon. I'm just gonna see Eugene, Oregon. Construction. All right, so I'm gonna look at Eugene. I mean, look, this is the other thing too. So I'd put Eugene, Oregon, hashtag Eugene, Oregon, and hashtag Eugene, Oregon real estate, right?
Into Instagram?
Yeah, you just search it. You just search under the search, and it'll be like a hashtag. Like Eugene, Oregon has 720,000 posts underneath it, right? Eugene, Oregon real estate has 1,700 posts. So like, you got it. There are real estate agents in there. There are developers in there. There are contractors that use those hashtags. You literally just need to connect with people just like that. So most of marketing, there's, let's say the marketing world is this big. a
Yeah.
small amount of people are truly leveraging it for what it truly is. And if
Right.
you can connect with those types of people, because they're like young millennial contractors
Yeah.
that are using social media as social media to
Right.
truly connect
Right.
with people, you'll be able to build up a network of other referral sources for business. So
Oh,
that's how I would use social media for you.
okay.
Literally, like you don't need social media to eat. However, you can add more to your plate if you use it the right way. And the way you do that is by documenting your processes and then literally DMing people,
Yeah.
DMing other contractors. I mean, I would even just like go to Google all of the contractors who are just like the people that give you work, find them, and then follow them on Instagram and on Facebook,
Okay.
like all of their posts, and then send them a DM. That's what I would do.
Okay. I
That's
can do that.
dude. You're gonna get way more jobs. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Okay.
It's so much easier when you are more social with people by putting yourself. I just did a video today, and it was just like putting yourself out there more. And that was the other thing too, is like even if I go to your Instagram, I don't
Yeah.
see pictures of you.
Not usually. Nope. Yeah.
I want to see pictures of you. I want to see
Okay.
pictures of your team. I want to see pictures of your shop. And I want to see walkthroughs. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
build a complete picture of your business for folks. Is that
So almost
helpful?
like, yeah. So almost like, sort of like vlogging, like what people do with like their daily life vlogs on YouTube or something,
Mm-hmm.
but sort of in the shop, just showing people what we do, showing people who we are, actually talking to people and using social media, like socially. Because
Yep.
I've only used it for pictures of what we do, and then almost like
Yeah.
just a picture gallery.
Yeah. For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Dude, thank you. That was that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. That's helpful. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. Hey, why don't you tell everybody your Instagram and your Facebook so that folks could follow?
Yeah. So Instagram and Facebook are both Arete Wood and Concrete, and it's all spelled out.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to sharing your story with everybody.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.